All right, everyone. Welcome back to the lab. Just to kind of give a breakdown on what we did on the last part. So part one, we went through and designed a case or an enclosure and switch plate in Fusion, and then sent it off to the printer. And then we hand wired our switch matrix. So today what we're going to do is we're going to finish soldering up the matrix to the MCU that's in the enclosure. I've already flashed that, so that's good to go. I've already tested it, and then set up a couple macros, make sure everything works. One thing I will note, when after the stream we did the first part, I was just verifying that the fitment for the microcontroller fit in the case properly. So as I dropped it down, I realized that if you look at the hole alignment, they don't go together. So instead of redoing this whole matrix entirely, what we ended up doing is, or what I inevitably did is just changed the location for the MCU, and then I mirrored the mounting locations. So now everything's going to line up as it should. And then just some creature comforts. I did add some chamfers on the top and the bottom, which I didn't. You can tell the difference. All right, so I am just going to put the standoffs in before I start to solder the matrix to the MCU. I did tweak some of the video settings and then messed with the mic's audio. So hopefully this stream will sound and look a little bit better than the first one. And then I did have rubber feet that we can install onto the bottom. So I'll do that. I'm gonna probably wait to the end for that. Cool, everything lines up pretty good. And so now what we're going to do, I'm just going to, I'm going to tin these pads. So we are actually going to be using GPIOs 2 through 9. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put a little bit of solder on each one of these connections. That way when we set this into the enclosure, you're not going to just be pumping a bunch of solder and then inevitably heat up the MCU, which could potentially transfer the heat to the part itself. Since we're only using PLA, I don't want to have any warping or anything like that. So I'm going to tin here, and then we're going to prep the wires, and then that's just a simple drop your solder in, drop the wire in, real quick, easy. Tip of my iron is dirty. There we go. With this here, you don't want to, you just want to be kind of careful. You don't want to put too much solder on. So what you're trying not to do is bridge those pins. So that's prepped. So now what we'll do is we can start. Make sure that's fully seated in there. Cool. I'm actually going to take a little bit of hot glue. I'm just going to tack some on this corner. Just to hold it in place. So when we're soldering, nothing moves around on us. All right. Just make sure we're going to orientate this the correct way so we don't have to redo it again. All right, so we're going to probably let's do the rows first, just because I have the rows set up on GPIOs 2, 3, and 4. So this will be 2, 3, and 4. We'll go ahead and we'll do green for those. So what I'm going to do is I'm probably just going to, since they're all coming off this one side, I'm going to come up and then funnel it in underneath the matrix and then come over. So right now I'm just getting kind of a rough estimate. And then right now all I'm doing is I'm just going to tin the end of this so we have a better solder joint. And I'm going to do that on both sides. And this is the same step for every wire. All right. Reflow this a little bit more. Hopefully my head wasn't in the way for all of that. One final time, make sure everything's good to go. There we go. All right. I'm glad I just looked at that. I totally just wired that up wrong. That's a column. I need to put it on a row. So what we're going to do is we're just going to make a little deviation over here. There we go, that's better. And we're going to go ahead and do the same step here, tin these, ends of these. Knows if I like that joint or not. Yeah, I'm gonna reflow that a little bit. That's better. Right. I'm not doing this in any particular manner. I'm just kind of throwing it together and how it fits, making sure everything at least looks a little tidy. Beautiful. That's what we have so far. All right, last row. All right, those are 3 rows finished. Cool. So how I do my matrix is this is going to be row 0 and then column 0. So we need to make sure that when attaching our wires, we go from left to right. Now what's crazy is there's already a little spot here. I could put that that connection. Wonder how that got there. And same thing, just going ahead and tin all the wires. Keep poking my hand with these things. All right. Column 1, or column 0 technically, but the first column that we've done. I think with these, I'll run them this way. Debating on which way I wanted to route that. It's getting kind of tight right here. Plus, I'm sure you guys don't like me struggling trying to get the wires in there. I was just trimming back some of these ends. Cut it just a little too long. And I don't know if I've mentioned this, but I solder pretty much everything that I do 350. Um, hasn't really given me any issues. Occasionally, depending on how big the ground plane is on a board, it might take a little bit of time to heat up, but that also is dependent on your iron. This wire is not wanting to go in there. Come on. I kind of feel at this point I'm just doing this because fuck this wire. I've been contemplating on doing a hand-wired build that has a wiring harness for all of this. That way you do everything outside and then you just marry the two halves together. Use like just a JST connection. All right, here's what we have so far. See if I can get all that in one shot. Almost there. So what I'm thinking about doing, jump that over there. I'm gonna put like column 4 here, and then I'll just route column 5 over here. Yeah. All right, one left. Just making sure nothing's getting pinched. That little guy there is going to be an issue. It'll be all right though. All right, so for this one, I'm just going to run it up. Ooh, I haven't started to melt that joint on that switch. All right, there's the matrix. Covering the MCU up. All right, so now what we're doing is we are just gonna secure this. Perfect. And the reason that I am closing this off already is because I have verified that the flash worked. I'm also going to verify that it will switch some scenes. So okay, so kind of give you a breakdown of what I'm doing. So, for instance, this is the matrix running through, verifying that everything's good. Cool. So, finish the assembly, put the keycaps on. We have a fully functional Stream Deck. Oh, I also forgot about the feet. I think going back, doing this again, how I oriented the mounting locations for the standoffs, I think in the case itself, I would have put almost they're basically what I would have done is right in this area here. Actually, you know what? Let's put that right. Basically, what I was going to do is I was going to add a lip to the inside of this face and then extrude a piece. So when this sits, this corner here, instead of being able to press down, that would have a lip that it would sit on. But like I said, I don't plan on throwing this thing at a wall. So it should be all right. All right. Now I'm just adding the rubber feet to the bottom of this for some added grip. These feet work great, but there's just a little tiny lip around them you have to trim off. And once you do, they fit. So how I did the key map for this, I basically set up F keys. So it's going to be F13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, repeating all the way to 24. And then these here, I just have a control shift and then another key. So what I figured is I'm going to set up my main scenes on these 4 rows here, or these 4 switches, I mean, and then I can have separate. So for like this one here, hitting it, I can have a macro. This would be the main one. This would be the macro shot. That is one downside of having that, is that case does want to push down on that corner. All right. That is a from scratch, designed in CAD, printed out, hand wired stream deck for the solder bench. I am actually currently working on a hand wired split right now. This side matrix is already completely finished. This one here, I just need to solder the microcontroller with the actual switch plate itself. And then I figured once that's done, I verify all the key mappings and how I want it. I'm going to start working on a PCB for it, and then figured that'll be a nice little project we can do on stream instead of hand wired. I'll have a custom PCB, and then we can solder all the components on there. So I want to thank you guys for coming again and hanging out. Hopefully you saw part 1. If not, find it on the channel. Once again, thank you. Like, comment, subscribe. You know what to do. Thanks for hanging out.